I'm sorry if there's some weird background noise in this video. The apartment building next door is getting built. I will shoot on the weekend next time. One of my favorite parts of being a DM is getting to create your own fantasy setting for you and your players to explore. Through much research, observation, and trial and error, I have identified a core aspect of world building that, if you master, can help elevate your worlds to the next level. And this is dynamic world building, as opposed to stagnant world building. So what do I mean by a dynamic world? A dynamic world is one that has a permeating feature which results in tangible, active impacts on the day-to-day lives of your adventurers and everyone else in your campaign setting. In most places in your world, you should be able to instantly feel the impact that your dynamic feature has had on said world. When world building, you have to understand the difference between the history of a world and the active consequences of said history. What is happening in the world when your story takes place is much more important. I will use the godsend of all world building, Avatar: The Last Airbender, as an example. The show takes place while the impact of the 100-year war is still being felt all over the world. Almost everywhere the protagonists go is impacted by the Fire Nation's rule. The world is going through a dynamic phase which was set in motion 100 years ago by Sozin's comet, and the characters cannot escape the impact that the Fire Nation has had on the world. This is dynamic world building. Your setting must have a permeating feature which is understood by everyone in the world if you want to elevate your world building. Another example of dynamic world building is Mistborn 1: The Final Empire. The story takes place in a world where the Lord Ruler has been reigning over the people of Scadrial for over 1,000 years, acting as a tyrant god. His rulership has had countless impacts on the people of Scadrial. These include the repression of technological advancement, ensuring that he keeps his reign, as well as instating himself as a tyrant god, rendering everyone else in the world too frightened of his powers to fight back. Hey, I just wanted to add that the Lord Ruler used his power to divide the people of Scadrial by both class and race, because this is one of the core dynamic features that he implemented into the world. His power and influence is so powerful that every single person on Scadrial would have been hugely affected by the Lord Ruler. What Mistborn shows us is that the dynamic feature of your world doesn't have to be new, such as Avatar's, which is only 100 years old. It can be as old as the history of the world. It just has to have active impacts on the people living there today. While we are on the Brando Sando train, let's have a look at another one of his worlds that has a dynamic feature to it. Rosha from the Stormlight archives. In this world, there is a massive storm that always travels from east to west across the continent. It'll destroy almost everything in its path. Think about the impacts that this would have on a fantasy setting. There would be rumors and myths and legends about the storm. There would be strategically built cities built on mountainsides facing away from the storm. There would be so many implications due to this one dynamic feature, which again, everyone in the world feels the impact of. The reason this example is different is because it is not driven by human intervention. There are no emperors or wars. This is simply the way the world works. There are endless possibilities for creating a fantasy setting with a natural feature like this involved, and doing so will make each of your worlds feel unique and special. And our final example will be One Piece. The world of One Piece takes place during a pirate era, which is prompted by the former king of the pirates leaving behind his treasure, which caused a generation of hopefuls to become pirates and sail the seas. A pirate era turns the world into a dangerous place where more people sail the seas than maintain traditional jobs, both as pirates looking for treasure or as marines hired by the world government to combat them. This is dynamic in a different way, as the shift in society isn't caused by repression, but by opportunity. And similarly to all the examples we visited today, the impacts of this pirate era is felt everywhere in the One Piece world. Creating a world with not just a rich lore, but an understanding of how its history changes its current state will increase emotional investment and attachment from your players, as they will thoroughly understand how and why your world works. Having a unique dynamic element will also help your world feel more distinctive in the memories of your players and yourself. For example, you guys will look back on it as the one with the Fire Nation, or the Pirates, or the Storms. As for what the standout aspect of your world should be, that is entirely up to you. This is the part where you get to create your own world. I have found that most dynamic elements fit into either two categories: physical or cultural. Physical dynamic elements include weather patterns, flora and fauna, monsters, terrain, magical spells or curses, or anything else that is found on the land naturally. Cultural dynamic elements include wars, historical moments, eras, gods, religions, monarchies, and anything made by people in your world. You can have more than one dynamic element in your world, but trying to cram too much into one setting can often weaken your original idea rather than strengthen your overall world. Creating fantasy settings is a joy, and I hope that thinking about them from this point of view will help you create more memorable, engaging, and just more interesting worlds. Just make sure that your dynamic element is felt everywhere in the world and that it actively impacts the people. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't, I'm sorry. If you did, you can find more of my stuff on theemanual.com. You can buy me a coffee there. You can do all sorts of stuff. And if not, you can just subscribe, like, or comment, or whatever you want to do with your life. Bye!